So we live. All right. So we live. We live. My mic on. Okay. And we live. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Just get ready to leave work. Turning in this paperwork. About to leave this job. So we dealing with the next generation. What are we doing with these kids? What are we doing with these kids? What are we doing with these kids, man? It's crazy, man. Just on Roger's panel earlier, we were just talking, having a little discussion, you know, one-on-one parenting. Shout out to the Roger Report. Shout out to the Roger Report 3. And shout out to the Roger Report Live, all the channels, man. And like I said, was over there having a discussion. Quite good one at that. And we was more or less focused on, you guessed it, the kids. And it's funny, man. In the future, I mean, really, these are our futures right here. I'm kind of throwing my paperwork around. So, like I said, these are our future right here. The kids that we come out, you know what I'm saying, right now willing and dealing with, this is our future. So, what are we teaching them? What are we showing them? Ultimately, how they're gonna accept certain things. That's the crazy part, man. You got kids that are out here being raised by kids, which grandmas and they 30s. You got grandmas in the 30s. Um, daughters having the kids in their teens. You know, and what are we ultimately doing with these kids? Like how are we raising these kids, man? At the end of the day, it's all about the babies, man. Hold on right quick. Let me. So back, crazy man. What are we gonna do with these kids? You know, what are we gonna teach these kids? I want to have a discussion about Dr. Dunbar, and he had something where he laid out real good on his channel earlier, and I want to, touch on that. I mean, it's crazy, man. Let's see. Guy by the name of Dr. Walter Williams, and he have his 4 keys to avoiding poverty. You know, and it's crazy because when you really look at it, what are really the keys to success? And it's just basic. You know, um, the first one is to finish high school. You know, and be that as it may, education is important, and your parents should be pushing education. You know, parents that actually do care, those are the ones that are going to be pushing education. You know, if your parents not pushing education, then you got to wonder, you know, I mean, what do you actually? I mean, what are pretty much? How can I put this? Their main job is raising you to the age of 18. Let's start from there. Make sure you go to school, do your work, make sure you at least be on time, have clean clothes, have a roof over your head. I mean, ultimately, if kids could pick their parents, it'd be so much nice, you know. But to the point where you can't pick your parents, you got to deal with what you deal with. Some people had good parents, some people had bad parents. That's the only reason I say that. But for the most part, um, like I said, shout out to Dr. Dunbar um, channel, Big Discussion 76, and I believe the other channel is Big Discussion 78. Not quite sure. I know the other one is Big Discussion 76, and that is the one where he actually has about 840, close to 840 subscribers. And go over there and give him some love, man. This guy deals with science, and he breaks down the development. I'm actually taking a gold professor approach right now, and shout out to the gold professor as well. He breaks down his channel. He also gives shout outs to a lot of different channels, and I don't know if I'm gonna start doing that as much, but I was over on Dr. Dunbar's channel, and it kind of went along with my discussion, so that's why I wanted to go ahead and put that in there. In the state of mind, some people look at the fact of the matter is, the conditions of where you at pretty much break you into a certain type of environment. But I've seen kids come from poverty, become millionaires, not even just in sports. We can say sports, but not even just in sports. I've seen guys create apps and become multimillionaires. I've seen guys make cell phone cases. In instance, some guys who will make a certain type of cell phone case become a millionaire. And when it boils down to it, I mean, you never know what you're gonna get. You never know what you're gonna deal with. But ultimately, dealing with your parents, man, it's best to, have kids after you get married to an extent to kind of, you know, escape that poverty, stricken line. Because you got to understand, for one, if you don't have it, let's go over the first 2 points. Not having a job is key. If you don't have a job, how are you able to actually deal with the inner likings of, the family and, just having a car, actually getting back and forth to work if you do have a job? Public transportation is not always reliable. And going into the second point, kids are a lot of money, and if you have to spend a lot of money on, pretty much kids, guess what that happens? You're gonna have to get better jobs. You're gonna have to at least have someone to help you because at certain times, when kids have their kids at young age, their parents don't want to help. Their parents not putting forth the effort, you know, because you ultimately had that kid. And if I sacrifice and do majority of the work to help you, I'm only hindering you to actually make you have another kid. And now we're going to actually go to the next point is take any job. Taking any job, you got to understand this. When it comes down to it, who are the people that are right now uh just coming over and being able to take any job? I mean, just no, just in general. People who are willing to work will take any job. People who, do not want to sacrifice anything, don't want to dedicate, no type of time and energy to, I guess something that doesn't pay. Well, um, we used to always say that the cardboard box was a home for the homeless man, but as it stands right now, mostly homeless people just have a blanket, in the concrete, sleep in certain areas. The car it when I was young, the reference of dealing with a cardboard box, that spoke volume to a lot of people. You know, if you're staying in a cardboard box showing, you don't have nowhere to go. You can't deal with nobody. And last but not least, avoid interactions with the law. You got to understand this. I've known people to actually get DUIs. And I've seen a sign once that said a DUI is the equivalent of $5,000 to $10,000. And it said if you have an extra $5,000 to $10,000, get a DUI. And I was like, wow. And so I talked to a guy that I knew, and he was like, yeah, that's about right. And the guy told me once you factor in if you get a lawyer or not, it's more. But once you factor in the fees, once you factor in the classes, once you factor in, even losing time because majority of these DUIs, you pretty much can't have a job. They want you to do volunteering. You're doing random drug screenings. So if you're working at a job and they say everybody who has blue have to, get a urine test today, pretty much you got to go in. There's no way around it. Color blue. If you're in the category of color blue that day, and you have blue, red, or purple, and purple is the next day, and they randomly call blue back again the next day, guess what? You have to go back down there. They don't have a set schedule to where everybody goes. That's why they deal as random drug tests. You might go take a drug test, or I mean, an alcohol test to where 3, 4 times. Even with drugs, same thing. All it is mostly doing a urine sample. Some of them do the breathalyzer if it gets to that extent. But the main thing is you have a DUI, but they're doing urine tests just to see if you have drugs in your system, so they can get you from both angles. Because majority of the people who get DUIs, you know, typically if you do a drug test, 9 times out of 10, you might do drugs, you might not. But the whole point is doing a urine test on a person that has a DUI instead of a breathalyzer. It's kind of funny, but you know, get you from any angle. Sometimes they do both, like I said. And those 4 keys right there: graduate from high school, don't have kids before marriage, take any job to actually make money, and avoid the police or you have to pay. This guy in my book, he actually just passed. I was listening to the story with Dr. Dunbar. The guy actually just passed last year. And inspires me to do more reading about him, see who he was, because technically it is Black History Month, and I've always been fascinated with learning about Black history and more people within our culture. A lot of inventions that were made when patents were able to give to Black people, you would see a rampage. Um, just want to give this brief video, and you know, I'm gonna actually come back a little later because I actually got a call